The hour of 7:30 has arrived, and so I'd like to call to order this December 18th business meeting of District 116. Roll call, please.
Member Carter.
Here.
Member Hall.
Here.
Member Patton.
Here.
Member Pulaski.
Here.
Member Fisher is here. Vice President Rollins.
Here.
And President Dennett.
Here. I'm very happy to be here, and I've got my fingers crossed that we're going to be able to manage the whole meeting, but just letting the people know that sometimes if I get overloaded a little bit, I just need to step away and be someplace quiet and come back. So if you see me leaving, it's not because I'm angry or anything like that. It's simply because I just need to give my brain a little bit of a break. So we'll go ahead. Additions, corrections, or modifications to this evening's agenda? Do we have any?
None. None.
All right. Motion to approve the...
Nope.
Whoops.
Accommodations, recognitions.
Oh. We did roll call.
Accommodations.
Additions,
I'm right here.
corrections, modifications.
Yeah, you did call for executive.
No.
Oh.
We need a motion to, well, we need a, yeah, well, let's move the agenda around just a little bit. It's switching 4 and 5. Do we have a call for an executive meeting this evening after the session?
Yes.
Okay. So let that be known. We need a motion to approve the agenda since there's no modifications.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. We have some commendations and recognitions this evening, and I'd like to turn it over to Preston.
Yeah, with that, we'd like to recognize some of our great teachers and staff in the district, and I am going to ask Shauna to read those off. I believe, Lori, do we have plaques for those individuals? If the board so chooses, if you want to come around to the front so that you're able to shake hands with those individuals, take your time.
Okay, the board would like to recognize the following staff for achieving the status of National Board Certified Teachers. Tiffany Bowie, the Library and Media at Leal Elementary School. Amanda Perez Rosser. Oh, sorry. Tiffany? No, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Amanda Perez Rosser, Career and Technical at Urbana High School. Nick's. Okay. Got it. Nick Stillwell, a math teacher at Urbana High School. And Kim Summers, English and Language Arts at Urbana High School. The board would also like to recognize Brian Lake, early childhood generalist who went through the process to renew his status of being a National Board Certified Teacher. That's it for those, yeah. There's more commendations, but not with plaques.
Thank you, Shauna.
Do you want me to go through the other?
Do the rest of the accommodations here. The rest of the recognitions.
Do you want me to read
Yes,
them?
please.
Okay. The board would also like to recognize the following are local members of Delta Gamma Gamma Society International. The DKG is a professional organization that promotes professional and personal growth of its members and excellence in education. At this time, USD 116 Board of Education would like to recognize Chris Vowles, Lily Jimenez, Jenny Finch, and Anna Rice for their dedication as educators in the Urbana School District. And finally, Wiley staff recognize their principal, Dr. Jennifer Heinhorst, for her work this summer and school year to provide their students and staff with a healthier work environment.
Thanks to everyone. We're now ready for citizen statements. I just want to it's written down here. We just want to remind that it's a 5-minute limit. You need to fill out a goldenrod sheet if you wish to address the board, and I do have one of them. But if there's anyone else, please make sure that you get the goldenrod sheet filled out from our recording secretary, Lori, there in the back. Kanita Fay.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So really it's good to have you and Dr. Carson. Thank you for
Turn
speaking.
it to green. There you go.
Also, okay. Anyways, my name is Kanita Fay. I would like to follow up on my comments from the last meeting. First, I would like to express my appreciation to the board for thank you, Dr. Owen and Ms. Barber, in your statement published on December 7th, 2018. That means a lot. I would like to thank all of the community members who came out and shared your thoughts. I couldn't stay for the whole meeting last time, but I made sure that I listened to each comment published on the UPTV. I found that all of them are very valuable. I also would like, again, to thank Dr. Williams for stepping in. I don't know if you kept that tag, from last time, but no, you did not. Okay. Second, I would like to share some thought concerning our search for the new superintendent. Many years ago, I had an opportunity to talk to a professor at the College of Engineering at the University of Illinois. Part of his job is to recruit high-quality professors all over the nation to come work here. He shared with me that it was not an easy job at all, because it's not just the university, it's the community that he or she has to decide if it's where he or she want to live in. And this search reminds me of that conversation and gets me to think of how candidates would view our school and our community at this time. I think in order to attract the right candidates, we would need to be sure that our community provides positive support for school. Our current tagline, I checked right before I left home, from the website, say, outstanding schools in an outstanding community. That is our current one. I can for sure say that I agree that we have outstanding teachers. The rest we can work toward. Now, clearly, our community is divided, which is totally expected because every time there's an abrupt change in leadership, the community is torn apart. I would like to encourage all parties to come together and brainstorm some possible ways to help us heal and move on. In case you are not aware of what I'm talking about, I'd be glad to talk to you afterward. Some of us took to social media to express our confusion and sorrow. Some cried privately at their own home because it's not appropriate for them, especially teachers, to write anything on social media. Some common comments are that we do not have problem with the change of leadership, but we would like for Dr. Owen to have a dignified exit for the service he has provided for nearly 30 years. We heard, I'm sure before, history never repeats itself, but it rhymes. Any candidate definitely would look at what happened to the last superintendent. So I would like to encourage all of us to write our own history. We have a small window between now and when the person, have to make decision. The board already took a leadership role and thank Dr. Owen for his contribution. I hope that as a community, we'll find a way to express our gratitude to him. You can reach out to me because I would like to be a part of that type of community. Lastly, I hope that the board, superintendent, and community leaders will support open and positive conversation, because I think that is the only way we can truly heal and move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tina Hubre, and then after Tina will be Carrie Brown-Tess.
Good evening. My name is Tina Hubre, and I just come before you once again asking for the Board of Education to remain as transparent and honest as can be. I'm still curious about the blacklist or hiring practice audit that people have been talking about. I'd like to know why we haven't heard more about that other than the board's response kind of defending itself. I'd like to know, I think we all should know how the list was created, when it was decided to act on that, how much the attorney's office will be charging the district for those services, and also why it wasn't compared to past Urbana School District hiring practices or even current Urbana School District hiring practices that encapsulated more positions and employees that would have not singled out staff members of color particularly. I would also like that you consider continuing the conversation about who to hire for the new superintendents through April, so that decision can be made with the board that comes in April, whether or not that's the same or changes. I just think that it would be fair to incoming board members potentially, or as well as the incoming superintendent and other staff who would be coming in to work with that board. I really appreciate the efforts that so many people have been making in this district. And in terms of healing and progressing, I'd like to just make sure that we don't, and any party doesn't feel like there has been a success or a defeat, but rather that we continue these conversations just as strongly and maybe even stronger, because these are not situations that are around 1 or 3 people. These are conversations that have to do with our community and with our children and with the future that they hold, and the huge responsibility that we hold in our hands in order to get them to where they can go. So thank you again for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie? While Carrie's coming up here, if anybody else wishes to address the board, please fill out a goldenrod sheet.
Hi, everyone. Nice to have you back, John. I am coming here with some research since I am researching education and looking at the intersection of the education of mathematics and social justice. That's what my PhD is in. And I would like to bring your attention to the ways that our recent history is very much tied to a national discussion on race and equity in our discipline. And I would like to point out an article that just came out with, I think this is the New York Times, about Betsy DeVos's new move to try to push back Obama-era school discipline policies. We are right on track with that. And I'd like to, as a researcher, come out and make sure that you guys are aware of a statement that was just put out today by the American Education Research Association. We are the premier research institution for education research. And I just want to read a couple lines from this, and I'd be happy to send it out to the board. The Federal Commission on School Safety recommendation to repeal the 2014 federal guidance calling on schools to address race-based disparities in school discipline should deeply concern parents, educators, policymakers, and the public. It goes on to say, education researchers have long studied disparities in school discipline and factors behind them and their implications for student and schools. for students in schools. The AERA journal regularly publishes research on the topic, and in April 2017, the association held a major public lecture to address school discipline disparities. The science is clear that racial discipline gaps exist and cannot be explained by differences in student behavior alone, which is a lot of the rhetoric going out there right now, and the roadblocks to educational opportunity and equity. And so I'd like to end with their final recommendation, and I'll send both reports in their entirety to you. But AERA came out and said that the Commission's recommendation, this is the Betsy DeVos and the Trump administration's push to pull back the Obama-era school discipline efforts. They said the Commission's recommendation, which ignored the body of scientific evidence, is deeply disappointing and represents a step backwards. I just want to be sure that I'm clear that we have made a little bit of a step backwards, and we are in a position to make a giant step backwards based on research and based on our own data and our history. And so I would like to also echo what Ms. Hubre said, and would like to have a slow move forward and not to decide on a superintendent until we as a community have met and that we have all had our voice heard, and that we're sure that our voices were heard. That's all I had like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Hughes.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'll be really brief. I'm just here because of the beginning of the superintendent search, which I think is going to be discussed tonight. I wanted to say first, I think our number one priority in that search should be community engagement. That should be what we should strive for, is as much community input as possible in the coming months, and also a diverse amount of community engagement. So not just expecting people to come here to our board meetings, to go out into the community, not just to go to our schools, but to consider other locations, venues, to consider social media and technology and ways of getting as much input as we can from a diverse body of our community. Second, I hope that our next priority after that is looking for a superintendent who will have significant experience doing the type of racial equity work that we're hoping to do in this district. I think that should be at the top of the list of what we're trying to do. Finally, I hope that we consider the timeline of this search. I know it's going to take a while, but I think that the community is going to expect and demand that no final decision on a superintendent or a hire will be made until next summer after the elections for the next school board. I think that's critical for democracy here in our local community, and given the concerns of the community members recently over transparency and accountability, I think that would be really critical to what we're trying to do as a school board. So those are things I hope that we can consider in our as we begin these conversations for looking for a next superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board this evening? I want to take advantage of this time to thank Stephen Lewis for operating the cameras for us with a little bit of help from Austin. So thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the rest of our agenda. The first is reports, superintendent search discussion. And Preston, I believe you're going to help us with this.
Yes. My last, I don't think it's life, but the last position that I had was with Ray and Associates out of Iowa, who's a national executive search firm for public educators. I worked with them on a search in a district in the south of Chicago, basically. And what I was very impressed with was the thoroughness and the professionalism that they had. Again, I'm not doing a commercial for them, but the reason I'm stating that is because I think for this district and this community, you really need to think about putting out a proposal to executive search firms to come back and give you a proposal as far as what they will do as far as your search is concerned. There are a number of very good search firms out there. I think the Illinois Association of School Boards actually have a wing that actually does that. I think IASA possibly, I'm not certain about that, but Ray and Associates has it young. There are a number of them. So when I'm asking the board, I put in your packet information that are a sample from Ray and Associates. It's very thorough, but the board is definitely the one that is in charge. You have to make modifications, but they, in the search process, you tell them what you want. It's as much community input, staff input, leaders in the community input. In my dealings with them in this particular district, we had the mayor, we had the police chief, we had city alderpersons, we had the local NAACP, we had parents, we had students, we also had a number of teachers, administrators, both building and district, and all that input. We also had surveys that went out to the community, parents, that came back into Ray and Associates, didn't go to the district, it went to them. They tabulated the results to try to find a profile as far as what the community wanted in a superintendent. It is a very exhausting process. There's no way you're going to have it by April. I can pretty much tell you that. Just giving you an idea, it doesn't work like that, okay? You as a board and we as a district will be very fortunate to be able to have someone to start by July 1st. Because the process, it's not quick unless the board just says, oh, I like this person, I want to do that. I haven't heard that from any board. But this board in particular, this school district, I think the last time that you actually had to go out for a superintendent was Dr. Gene Amberg. And I think Gene was here for about 13 years, and then I was here for about 6 years, and I'm back. And then Don was here for about 5 years. So you start counting up those years. The process is a lot different now. There's a lot more scrutiny. Social media is definitely utilized in a lot of different ways. You actually have to go in I was an associate. Even though my name wasn't on the list, I was still an associate. You have to scrub a lot of information in that you have to dig deep on the candidates that you're bringing in. And confidentiality is extremely important because we had candidates and I love the media, but because the media actually put out a name and they hadn't told their boards that they were looking, they had to basically drop out. They withdrew. So all of those things are very crucial in the process. But I'm not going to be long-winded. I'm simply saying that I think it's in the district's best interest to look into sending out a call for proposals. And then when that occurs, deciding who you want to present to the board, because they will come in and do presentations for you. And Yeah, it'll be, you know, all the glitz and everything. You're going to have to dig deep and decide what you want to do. And the process definitely won't be done by April. It won't. So I'm going to stop right there and answer any questions that you may have. Again, in this, I had Ray and Associates simply send a sample. It's a sample. I'm staying away from any kind of conflict of interest. I did work for them. I am currently not working for them because I'm working here. But this is a sample, okay? It's got sample stamped on it for you to look and see just how intense the process is as it relates to that. Okay? I'll stop there, Mr. President.
Yeah, I think that Ruth Ann and I are the only ones who have been involved in a search that didn't involve promotion from within. And I'll speak for myself, but I think it's time that I endorse what you're talking about because I think it's time that this district make a broader look for the next leader, and that because we haven't done it in such a long time, I do believe that this board needs somebody that's working for us, that is helping us negotiate the process. These firms are, you've got that one that you're showing as a sample, and in the mail I've already received a couple of firms. So there's lots of them out there, and we need to be careful about which one we choose because it has to be one that is able to listen to what the priorities are of the community. So when we go through that process I hope that the board would agree to go through this type of process, and that we keep in mind that we need one that won't look at the Urbana School District as the kind of school system that they've never, ever seen before or approached before. We have a lot of things that we're in the process of moving forward, and we need to make sure that remains, that attention to the equity issues and the new behavior, that all, I don't want that to be a foreign language to our new leader. I want our new leader to be able to understand and be able to help us move forward. And I think the best way to do that is with an outside firm. A lot of outside firms, I'm not in this business, but in the business I used to be in, would maintain, they really scoured the country and knew who was doing what where, to a degree that we as volunteers could never begin to assume. But if we lay out a proper ideas of where we want the district to go, they'll really, really help us find somebody that is knowledgeable in the areas that we want them to be so that they can help us move forward. I'll stop there and see what other board members, but I know for a lot of you this is new ground.
So we went through something similar when we were finding and selecting a firm to help us with the campus land use study. We put on an RFP, and then we had companies come in and give presentations, and we were able to choose one. So in terms of getting this done as quickly as possible, getting the RFP out, so would that be something that would be on our next agenda, or is it something that would require a board vote?
I would hope that in the intervening time period, because it's a long time till we meet again, that, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we asked Preston to sit here, is because of his particular knowledge of how the process works, that a RFP could be drafted for us to approve relatively soon, or at least for us to put out there so that the community can look at it and react to it and help us make it better. Not that it wouldn't be the best if you're doing it, but things are always better when the larger community is involved. So I would hope that tonight, maybe the board would be in a position to give some direction to Preston to begin the process of putting together a request for proposals, an RFP, request for proposals.
And I do remember Preston says the longer we wait, am I right, the pickings gets lesser?
Yes.
Because the good ones are picked. So it's a process, even though we say we're going to do it. And I want the community involved, but the process, the selection process needs to be led and us guided by Preston, because we don't want the bottom pickings. At least I don't. So I think we need to think about it, because it's going to be January in 2 weeks. Am I right, Preston?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Again, I haven't sat here in a few years, so I'm not sure about some of the process and procedures that you have to do, but you're not going to be spending money right away. You will be spending money eventually, but it's very important that we at least get out there and send requests for proposals. That's not obligating you to anything other than them sending in information that they've already sent you. It's already a number of them, but making sure we cast the net out there and say, look, we're looking for an executive firm to come in and work with us on finding our next superintendent. And they will send those proposals in. Just the proposals on what they do. And then at that point, you as a board will have to sit down and decide on which of those firms you would like to come in and do a presentation about what their services are for you. Now, at that point, the decisions have to be made, because they all offer something a little bit differently, but you need to get them here and decide on which ones you want to work with. Believe me, the process is very transparent, because it's done in open session. Okay, it's not closed session, it's open session. And they will talk about the process and what they can do for the community and for the board as far as the search is concerned. Another thing you'll have to think about, just throwing another little wrench in the wheel, so to speak, you also have a couple positions that are going to be open in your district administrative team. And you need to think about, do we want them to continue, to do that as well as a superintendent search, because they do that, but wait until your superintendent gets here and she or he will make that decision with you as far as choosing who would be in those positions. Just because if you wait and go through the process and the superintendent is chosen in July, and then you decide, well, we want to go out and find a curriculum instruction person, a HR person, now you're in the July, August, September trying to find somebody to do those positions, and that's not good.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so you can do it simultaneously so that you'll have a larger pool of candidates for those positions. Just kind of a, the recommendation to think about, that's all.
Points well taken. Other comments from board members?
Do we need to, I totally support getting a firm to help us with this process and, broadening our scope as great as possible. Does it make sense to have a committee assigned to work on this, putting out the RFP, or working with Preston to help us put out an RFP, and scheduling some firms to come in and do presentations, much as we did with the recent campus land use study? I think that was a group of just was it just, I guess it was just 2 board members who worked with the administration, central office? Property, it was just you two?
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. It was the property committee.
And you worked with Matt, I think, or?
Yes.
A couple principals, perhaps, the 2 principals involved. I mean, does it make sense just to, I mean, move this along, so it would be good to have some firms to vote on, to do presentations at our January meeting? I mean, to agree to accept presentations from,
I think that's a pretty good idea. It would have to be board members that are available,
yeah.
meaning
Mhm.
people that aren't traveling for the holiday,
Correct,
aren't leaving at the end of this week and back in
Mhm.
January.
right. Good point.
Yeah. Benita, is that?
No, I said, I don't know if I'm
Oh,
yeah, that's why I said,
Well, next week, no, you're right, a lot of us are gone next week.
yeah.
All right,
The usual ask isn't that complicated.
right.
We are in need of a superintendent. Can your firm send a proposal?
Oh, yeah.
mhm.
That's pretty much it.
Oh, okay.
They're not, you will be doing all of the intensive things
Mhm.
as far as the profile and what the community wants and what the teachers want and what the,
Mhm.
that will be later. Right now, we just want to see which firm is out there
Mhm.
that is willing to put together a proposal for a superintendent or a superintendent and assistant superintendents, whatever your preference is, and just see, because believe me, you really, for the most part, you don't have to ask those firms to do that.
Mhm.
They read the news.
Mhm.
They go on social media. They had started to send things here and to the president already, right? But I just think it's some kind of way, and we'll have to talk to the board's attorneys, but I don't think that that's a problem in seeking those proposals
Okay,
and then having something for your committee to take a good hard look at and say, I like this, I don't like this one, and then bring it to the board and say, hey, we'd like to have, 3 or 4, 5, well, you're gonna have to give them about an hour
mhm.
for them to go through their is spiel a bad word?
No, I don't
Uh,
think so.
And that's a-
They're gonna go through that,
Mhm.
okay? So, anyway.
Okay. Yeah,
My question is, what are the components of the committee? Because there'll be 2 board members, but when do we make it inclusive kind of team with, blended in with the community
I think that's
members?
when we are in the process of
In the
identifying people.
process of identifying, okay.
I think the critical matter is identifying potential candidates.
Okay.
And I'm going to correct that. I think the community needs to be involved as well when we are developing the position statement, the job description and the losing words, what you want the person to look like, the description of an ideal candidate. I'm using the wrong words, sorry.
No, those are the correct
But,
words.
yeah.
Well, it's got a name, a position
Oh.
statement and profile. That's the word I was looking for, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. A profile of an ideal candidate, and I think we need to have the community involved in that.
Just to give you an idea quickly, working with board through each stage of search, this particular company has 5 stages, and I'm just going to read briefly the kind of the first couple sentences. Stage 1 is board input and preparation. Okay, the firm will meet with each board member individually to obtain input for the profile development and meet with the entire board to set the timeline for the search. Very important, because the timelines have to fit within where the board is, and yeah, we had some issues with that with one particular district. But stage 2 is the profile development and process. So our firm takes the development of the profile very seriously. We meet with employees, stakeholders as identified by the board. We also hold morning and evening open forums to collect input from the community. Okay, that's stage 2. Stage 3 is the process in recruiting and screening. The firm's dialogue with constituents and interviews with individual board members coupled with survey results. Surveys are on the district website. They're sent out. I think where I was at, the city actually put it on its website. A number of other organizations put it on their websites so people could it got out there, right? And that all that information goes to the firm. And then stage 4 is a candidate presentation. Basically, that's typically not a community thing. They'll bring forth 8 to 12 candidates on maybe like a 3 or 4 minute video with all of their documents. And the board goes through, they're answering questions that were developed from the profile. The board goes through, listens to them, looks over the information, works with the associates, and then decides on that next step, the finalists and future planning, right? And so community input is crucial. The community is a part of it. They have a say in it, in developing the profile, the surveys, and also if you want to have the interviews set up. Now, I will tell you, you have to have a strong constitution as a superintendent coming in to go to some of those open forums. And because most of them coming in, if they're sitting superintendents, at that point, everybody knows that you are applying for another position. And that's when those boards, especially if they have a strong relationship with them, will start offering things to keep them there. And that happened to us in this last search. But then they answer questions. And believe me, they're doing their homework before they even apply or before they come. So they will know more about your district and what you've been going through than probably the people that live here, okay? Because they're going to do that. Good candidates do their homework. And at that stage, they'll make a decision on whether or not they want to come or not. So just kind of keep all that stuff. It's very open, you know, as open as you want it to be.
There's also another piece to that, which was this board used when recruiting Gene Amberg, is that it behooves us to go there, wherever they're from. And you can find out things that people are unwilling to put in a letter of recommendation. But you need to, we need to have an opportunity to see how they're really doing in their community. And with Amberg, I think it was more than 2 board members, so it was a published time frame that I think all the board members that wanted to could go. And I didn't go, so I'm not sure how that part worked, except that the feedback that came back was very valuable. So I was glad I didn't, because the plane flew down there in really bad weather. A lot of people were real upset about the flight.
It's a little scary.
So,
yeah.
I remember Ms. Burkle we talked about.
Yes. Yes. So, okay. We can do a straw poll tonight. This is not a formal action. We're just asking him to, asking our acting superintendent to put things together and start the ball rolling. It's not really key decision-making unless there's a feeling on the board that we don't need an outside search firm.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to see if there's any board member that,
Nope, I think we all.
I don't see anybody that disagrees. So I think we need to get the process going in terms of seeing what's out there in terms of an outside firm that could help us. All right. And before we go to the next report, I told you I'm not all together. I failed to recognize Ms. Patton at the end of citizen statements you had a statement that you'd like to deliver on behalf of the board.
Yes, thank you. I've got a statement, as John said, that I'm reading on behalf of the Board of Education. I'm reading it in English. The Spanish and French versions of this statement will be on, I understand, will be on our website shortly if it's not already on the website, right at the moment. And the statement is, the Board of Education wishes to briefly address the recent changes in district administration resulting in the decision of appointing an interim superintendent, an interim assistant superintendent of student learning, and an interim superintendent of human resources and professional development. Dr. Owen, Dr. Bindum, and Ms. Barber all currently remain employees of the district and are on paid leave. The board acknowledges and respects the requests by the public for additional information. However, regardless of circumstances or the number of requests received to discuss the reasons, employees are entitled to privacy until they have received all process due to them under the law. The board must and wishes to ensure that employees are provided with a fair and lawful forum during this process. The board, either collectively or individually, cannot discuss the individual reasons until such time as the affected employees are afforded their due process to ensure their rights are protected. And once again, that statement in English and Spanish will be on the district website shortly. And this is on behalf of the entire Board of Education. Thank you, John.
Sorry that I got that out of order. Our next report is 8.2, Property Tax Relief Grant. Carol?
Yes, beginning in FY19, the State Board for the first time is offering or providing $50 million in property tax relief for eligible districts. That's part of the evidence-based funding formula. And since this board has a longstanding goal of reducing the tax burden for Urbana taxpayers, I didn't want this opportunity to pass this up. It's nothing that we'd be locked into, and like I said in my memo, we are number 290 on the eligible list of districts in the state of Illinois, so it's a long shot, but still. I think it says a lot just to say, hey, we're going to at least try this, you never know. So we're going to go ahead and apply. It's a very simple application. Apply for the maximum amount. If by chance we would happen to receive it, we can always decide not to if we would want to, but I can't imagine that would be the case. But it's just probably very unlikely that we would get it. But I think it's probably good to show our efforts are being made to do whatever we can. So we're going to go ahead and apply and hopefully have good news by the end of January. They should know something. But like I said, if the $50 million will fund the first, I think, 35 districts on the list, if they all take the maximum amount. So it's very unlikely they're going to get down to number 290, but you never know.
So you just report this to, we do not need to take action on this?
It's on later in the
It is?
agenda.
Okay, that's what I was looking for.
Because the application is due by January 7th, and since the meeting was moved back and we don't meet
Okay.
on the first Tuesday.
So are there any questions of Carol at this point in time?
Oh, thank you for applying for us.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, we'll deal with this matter when it comes at the right time under action items on the agenda. Okay. We have the communications that are at our desk. We've already, we've had discussions when we were doing commendations and recognitions for all of those, but just note that we have written material that supports some of the commendations that were awarded earlier tonight. 10.0, public hearing. I'm required, I'm sorry, to bang that gavel and open the public hearing for the estimated tax levy. And this is in concert with what I believe has been discussed at board meetings while I was incapacitated. So this is a time for the public to comment on the tax levy, the proposed tax levy. Anyone wish to come forward? It is not usual for us to have speakers, so this looks like it's going to be like past events. Close the public hearing. We now have action items, and I think I can do this. So we have minutes of November 20th, 2018 business meeting and the December 4th study session. We have November bills and checks, education fund bills in the amount of $462,000, operations and maintenance fund bills in the amount of $119,000, bond and interest fund bills in the amount of $9,000, transportation fund bills in the amount of $272,000, working cash bonds in the amount of $31,000, tort $101,000, payroll $4.3 million, and adult education in the amount of $128,000. We do have some interfund loans this evening. $400,000 from working cash to operations and maintenance fund, $400,000 from working cash to IMRF, and $100,000 from working cash fund to tort. We had various personnel items that were listed. My reading of them is they seem to be rather routine. Approval of continuous school improvement plans as they have been presented to us before, which is one for each of our school buildings. Resolution authorizing and directing the sale or disposal of personal property, and this is appears to be furniture and some library weeding at a couple of our elementary buildings. And then finally, an advance approval of the December bills for payment because of the calendar. Anybody desire to remove any of that from the consent agenda? Seeing none, a motion to approve the consent agenda would be in order. Second, anyone?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay? And President Dennett?
Yes. Motion is carried. Next individual action items, we have gifts from, I hope I don't mess this name up, Nada Swide from Urbana, located a 13-inch Gliga, viola, and bow and case to Urbana High School. Jack and Ginny, Virginia Waller of Urbana donated $100 to LaDonna Helms' first grade classroom at Leal. Kathy Barber donated a standing desk to the Urbana School District. The Tin Cup Award through the Champaign West Rotary Club donated $324.33 to Adult Ed. And the following donated to the Urbana High School Student Senate, and presumably probably for their Thanksgiving celebration. Champaign County Retired Teachers Association, $534, Busey Bank, $250, and Urbana Park District Senior Citizens Club, $200. And Kate McLean of Urbana donated a half base bow and bag, also to Urbana High School. Is there a motion to receive the gifts and send out letters of thanks?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. We have a resolution regarding the estimated amounts necessary to be levied for the year 2018. Once again, this was discussed at prior meetings.
I think it's worthy to point out that this is the one where the 2002 bonds are paid off. So our rate is going to drop about 32 cents estimated. So that's something that we need to be happy about. And that is about $160 for someone with a $150,000 home in Urbana. So
Excellent.
we need to make sure that word gets out.
That's right.
You might want to make that point again.
Yeah.
I see the media is leaving,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'd like that. Oh,
Okay. All right.
News Gazette's here too.
some media is leaving. Let me correct my statement. Some media are leaving. Some have left already, but that's okay. I'm sorry, I'm just messing. But that's very important
Yes, it
because
is.
over the years,
This hasn't
it
happened.
was, yes, so.
Ever, since 2000, since '02, probably.
Oh.
Actually, '89, probably.
Yeah, say it, pardon? Say it again there.
32.
32 cent, about an estimated 32 cent drop. For a person with a $150,000 home, it's about $160.
And that's effective when, Carol? I mean,
For the tax bills that come out in 2019.
for the tax bills coming out in 2019. That's worth celebrating.
And this levy is also influenced a little bit by the court case regarding the
The levy is, but yeah.
The levy, yeah. So, okay.
Mhm.
Any further questions of Carol or comments? When we planned for this 10 or 15 years ago, we expected to be a different 7 up here. It's nice to see it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, but the two of us are glad to see that this day has finally arrived.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve would be in order.
I move acceptance of the resolution, 12.2.
I'll second that.
And I believe this will require roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay and President Nemeth.
Yes, motion is carried. Next is the approval of a property tax relief grant. This was the item that we discussed earlier tonight. If there's any further discussion, now would be the time. And if not, a motion to approve would be in order.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. This is just an application for a grant, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Next is approval of Conflict 180 contract. This is something that we're playing a little bit of catch-up with, but it's necessary that the board formally approve this contract, and this is the contract that helps us move along with a lot of our restorative justice practices.
Especially at the elementary level, that's where they're working at currently.
Yes.
Right. And I intend to support this, but I have a couple of questions. Can I ask that at this time?
Absolutely.
I really appreciated the outline of the services that are being provided in sort of the long-range plan. And I understand that the current contract, which is this school year, 2018-19, is calls for formally introducing restorative practices and restorative circles to Wiley and Yankee Ridge elementaries, which is great. So I guess my question is, and we might have been told this earlier and I just don't recall, but what are the plans for introducing the restorative practices and restorative circles at the other elementaries? And then going along with that question is, how is that information communicated to the elementaries? Because I just often hear sort of questions about uncertainty by some of our elementary staff.
Well, I'm not going to be able to answer because I wasn't here.
Oh.
But
Ms. Bun- there she
Elaine
is.
might
Yeah.
have the answer, but
Yeah.
but to be in all fairness to her,
Yeah.
I spoke with her and I said, Elaine, you didn't have to worry about trying to answer this because actually you didn't even have to show up.
Okay.
And Elaine is here, so I apologize because I don't have the answer as far as future developments because this is a one-year contract. But
Oh, gotcha.
go ahead, Elaine, if you'd like.
You need the microphone on.
Just
in
the
front of you.
green button, I don't know why it won't stay on. Just depress it we have to depress it really push it down for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. Real hard? All right.
Let's swap out here,
It's
Sean.
being,
Yeah,
there we
goes.
go. It's being finicky. Yeah.
Okay, so before I answer, let me just restate the question, make sure I caught it.
Sure.
So the question is, how was it decided which schools to be in, and what's the plan to roll it out to others?
Yeah, what's the plan for rolling out others, and how is that information communicated to the elementary? So they also know.
I think the discussions about how those two were chosen is done.
Yeah.
I think the question is, what about future years
Yeah.
and future
Okay.
schools?
So it was chosen with the previous administration,
Yeah, sure.
collaboratively, and that's basically how we do it. We usually meet in June and talk about the needs for next year according to the understanding of the administration,
Gotcha.
which I think takes into consideration the building input.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I know, for instance, Dr. Heinhurst and I also met in spring, she expressed a lot of interest. So I think it's a combination of building interest and what the administration feels are the needs.
Okay. And is it fair to say that the ultimate goal is that every elementary would have this, or is that, we're kind of deciding that as we go, because it is a year-by-year contract? I mean,
I think the vision is your vision and the
okay.
community's vision. We're at your service.
Gotcha, okay. Okay.
I think from an expertise perspective, it makes sense to have everyone introduced to the same systems.
Right, right. And yet, it's fair to say that even though I know you're intentionally and deliberately working with schools, like as you did with the middle school and high school, and continue to do so, and now with Wiley and Yankee Ridge, other elementaries are utilizing the restorative practices to some degree. I mean, at least that's what I've been told. I mean, is that an accurate statement?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
know that there's lots of sources for learning how to do restorative practices. There
Okay.
are books, there's webinars.
Okay.
Mr. Elvier at the middle school and high school has expertise. And also, to be clear, I have not been working with the middle school and high school this year.
Oh.
That was the other decision with the previous administration
Okay.
in September
Uh-huh.
to take Conflict 180 off of those two contracts and have Mr. Elvier do the secondary.
Got you. Okay.
So that was a shift to elementary.
So you
Can I add that all the school improvement plans that we've been presented with, all of them spoke to restorative practices. So we know for a fact that it's moving, it just may not, you're just bringing a little bit of extra expertise to two
Absolutely.
buildings
Right.
and helping to perhaps accelerate those two buildings.
Right.
And Dr. Williams is also getting quarterly professional development as well from our team.
Got you. Okay.
That's the building and not me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Williams has not been.
Yeah.
I think what we will do, Elaine, is as we go through this, we will certainly sit down with you and discuss what some of our needs are within the other buildings and how we can roll that out. I think that's what Don and those guys did before, and I think that's something we can certainly sit down and look at. Right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Great. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I think if we all recall back, these two buildings are in need of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know things are different this year, but last year there was some significant issues with these significant
Support
hurdles
needed.
to get over
Mm-hmm.
at these other two buildings.
Mm-hmm. All right. Great.
Yeah, and I'm always happy to answer questions if you guys ever have questions. I live around the corner.
Thank you.
Okay, any other board questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I move acceptance of the Conflict 180 contract for 2018-19 school year.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. This is spending money, so roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett?
Yes, motion is carried. Next is approval for Board of Education travel expenses, and these were the expenses that were incurred by those that attended the statewide conference in Chicago that we do every year. And we need a motion to approve this.
I make a motion.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay? And President Demmett?
Yes, motion is carried. Next is approval to purchase a wheel loader with attachments. And this is part of our, we get rid of old vehicles and we bring in new vehicles, is correct? This is not an addition to the fleet, it's more or less a replacement.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Motion would be in order.
I move approval of that purchase.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay? And President Demmett?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have no future special or executive meetings scheduled beyond tonight. Superintendent's report.
I'd like to take a moment to introduce Ms. Gail Jeffries, who's Assistant Superintendent for HR. Gail, I don't know if you'd like to say anything, but we'd
I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jeffries.
you're more than welcome. And Ms. Jean Corder, who is working in I call it curriculum and instruction. I think there's some added titles to it now. So, but Jean, yourself, anything?
And I just echo what Gail said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Other than that, we have been in every building, being reacquainted with some, introducing myself to others. I have my own style, which I think may take a little bit of getting used to for some. For others, I think they already know that as long as I have a key, I will be coming in different places, and you don't have to announce me. You know, the horse is out of the barn, or whatever they use in some of it, different. But I could say that our staffs are working hard. Our people are doing what they need to do. It is a challenge, but that's public education. Public education is a challenge, but we have great kids and we have great staff members that are working hard, and we just need to make sure we support them and continue to work together and understand, as I tell them all the time, it's about the kids, it's not about me. And we have to do what's right for kids. And that has been my statement and my vision as I've gone around to the various buildings. And so that's pretty much from me, that's it. We'll have some other things for you. And now, am I supposed to read the FOIA report, or is that someone else?
No, either you or Lori, I guess you do.
Is that me?
Yeah.
I can
Or we
see
can give
things
her a
have
mic back
changed.
there if you want.
Yeah, things have changed. Okay. FOIA report. Gaines, the Illinois Public Media, copies of correspondence. Do we, all of it, or just who it's from, right?
We've been reading them all the way, but that's
We have been reading. We have
My choice is not to read them at all, but
that would be nice.
but another from Lee Gaines from the Illinois Public Media. Another from Lee Gaines from Illinois Public Media. Lee Gaines, Illinois Public Media. Caitlin Connolly from WCIA. I think that's it. Okay.
Board reports.
So I had the opportunity, I think Peggy did as well, to participate in professional development at King's School yesterday with regards to the racial equity workshop they had after their day ended. It was a really well-run meeting. I to compliment Ms. Lewandowski on how efficiently that meeting was. If all my meetings at my job were as productive as that one, I'd spend a lot less time in meetings. But it was broken up into two pieces, one of which we broke into small groups, and they were kind of assessing the state of the work at King, which I couldn't really offer input to, but it was really valuable for me to hear that. And then we broke up into those groups into smaller, we kind of we formed groups, but splitting up differently, so with different people. And we went through an exercise where we learned about obstacles to building trust and how to go over them, and I found that extremely valuable. It was a really, really great experience, and I would wholeheartedly recommend that my fellow board members participate in this type of professional development in the other buildings as well.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, I did everything Paul said. It was really valuable meeting over at King School. And even if you can only go to one or two of the meetings at the other schools, because they're each month, Lori has all the dates. They're all at the end of the school day. But even if you could go to only one or two, I just think you'd find it, I mean, I know I found it personally very valuable, and it's also good to kind of observe how this is progressing across our district, you know, these important discussions around racial equity at the building level. So just a reminder, if you intend to attend any of them, make sure you let Lori know, because she's got the list, and that way she can kind of track to be sure that there's no more than 2 board members at any one school at any one meeting.
Will any of them be after 5? No.
No, the latest one it
Right?
looks like is 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know, that's
Okay.
hard. That's a hard one. Yeah, because it's during teacher's time, obviously, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
after 4. I mean,
Four-
up
four-
to 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
It's
latest
It's
one
usually
I've,
right, yeah, it's usually right after the school day gets out, so that's different in some buildings.
yeah, like middle school starts at 4, but King started at 3:15. But yeah, obviously they want to do it when the teachers are still there, so.
Okay, I can understand that. I just want to say, I've been attending, because I haven't heard from our athletic department, our little passes and little things, but I go to basketball games. And one of the things with the girls, we've got some really good, the wrestling, we've got some really good athletes. They're young and they're great. And more public support for these kids because they worked so hard. Those girls against Central Saturday, they worked so hard. So not enough community support for them, and I'm asking everybody to support all our athletes in all areas too. So, great kids.
Other board reports? Seeing none, a motion to adjourn to closed session would be in order. Someone will supply me with the reason why we're going to closed session. The legal reason, And there'll be no action following.
At the beginning.
Yes, we have to read it.
I'm sorry.
Can I also say that we have the best pep band in the land at Urbana High School? It's kind of like at HBCUs, most people go for halftime. Well, those of you who haven't been to an HBCU, you probably don't understand that. Talk to me later and I'll explain. But our pep band is probably one of the best pep bands in the nation because they are extraordinary. So if you don't want to come to the game, come at least the first quarter so you can hear the pep band, and then they do it at halftime as well. So I had to put a plug in because they are excellent.
But, and we do have some remarkable athletes in the school right now that, yeah, it's a lot of fun when you can go. So the exec session is for the purpose of appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district or legal counsel for the district, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against legal counsel for the district to determine its validity. That is the clause in the law that we will be adhering to as we adjourn to closed session. So I want to repeat, there'll be no action following that closed session. So is there a motion to adjourn this public portion of the meeting and go into closed session?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Member Carter?
Yes.
Member Hall?
Yes.
Member Patton?
Yes.
Member Pulaski?
Yes.
Member Fisher votes yes. Vice President Rollins Gay?
Yes.
And President Demmett?
Yes. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, folks.